So Ailbhe, we're here today to talk about your recording of the complete set of 6 Bach solo cello suites. What inspired you to take on this project?
Well, I've always loved Bach, and the set of 6 solo suites are just such an iconic collection for any cellist. At the start or at the end of their career, it doesn't matter, it's just glorious music. And I think many composers try to create something similar in solo suites because Bach just had such an ability to create wonderful sounds. So this was always in my mind. It was something that I thought would be a great project to do, and I'm really happy to be on this side of it.
I can imagine. So when exactly did you record them?
We recorded these in August of 2022 in the TU Dublin Concert Hall, a really wonderful space. And we did it over a 6-day period.
Okay. And a lot of people who love music, and in particular love the Bach suites, would see the final product, but not many people are aware of what leads up to the eventual set of CDs. So can you give us a little overview of essentially when you began the work and what different stages you went through before launching the CD?
Absolutely. Many cellists spend 40 to 50 years playing these pieces before they ever take them out to record. You know, it's something that I suppose is always on a cellist's mind, but it's such a big project that it takes a lot of courage, I think. So it's amazing to think about all of the prep that we had. So obviously I've been learning these suites, different ones, different movements as a young cellist and all through my professional career.
Yes.
And then I was recording the complete Beethoven sonatas with John O'Connor. And when I finished that, I thought, what better than to do another double CD? But obviously this was on my mind, and I decided the complete Bach suites would be a wonderful project to do. So in order to get there, I spent 3 months before the recording project practicing every single day, obviously while I was still playing concerts. But that involved an awful lot of research. I had to go back into the old manuscripts of Anna Magdalena Bach, Bach's wife, who made a copy of the music. So there are many other manuscripts from the time as well. So you can study all of these manuscripts to come up with your definitive version.
Yes.
And there's so many versions out there. It's something you have to put a lot of time and effort into.
Okay.
And then finally we had 6 days planned for the recording. And we did this 6 days in a row, which I think is quite unusual. It's quite a physical play. This is 2.5 hours worth of music. And most people, I discovered afterwards, do it in 2-3 day segments.
Okay.
So normally when you create a CD of 70 minutes length, you would do that over a 3-day period. So on a double CD, it makes sense to do 6 days. But by the end of the 6 days, you can really feel that.
So these pieces have been recorded by many artists all over the world. What was important to you about them as you approached them artistically in this particular project?
Well, I think the wonderful thing about music is that people play the same music in so many different ways. So I don't think you can ever have too many recordings of a piece of music. And I think as a composer myself, if I was Bach, I'd be delighted to be. I think he would just be thrilled to have so many people playing his music in different, varying ways.
Okay.
So artistically, what was important to me was to have a really interesting, varied soundscape.
Okay.
I wanted to have a real difference between all of the dance types and a real sense of vibrancy throughout.
And I think you can hear that absolutely in the recording. In the sets of pieces that are from the Baroque era, there are many different debates about how to perform them on modern instruments. How did you think about that in your version?
It was very important for me to create a version that represented how I perform these pieces when I'm in concert.
Okay.
So I play on a Pastoncini 1833 cello and a Noel Burke bow. And I find this is just a wonderful sound that suits the music for me. And again, it comes back to there being so many different ways that you can play the same piece of music, but when someone is really convincing in the way they do it, I think that should speak for itself.
People all over the world have a real love for this music, and there are a number of the dances across the suites that have become famous through repeated performance and film and many ceremonies of all types. As you went through all 6 suites, what are some unknown gems that you particularly like?
That's a great question. Obviously, people know the Prelude in G the most, and a number of the others have been used in and out of the film world quite a lot. I love the Courant from Suite number 2. I love the Prelude from Suite number 3, so glorious. The Jig from Suite number 3, so buoyant. And there's this really amazing saraband in the 5th movement. And actually, I love all the sarabands in every movement, regardless. But the 5th movement, or 5th suite, I should say, is really, really incredible how Bach uses just one note, no double stops or triple stops, and moves so slowly between each note. But it's incredible what he does harmonically.
What is it about the sarabands that you like in the set?
I love a good slow movement, and they're just so poignant. When you think about the space that we're recording in, this glorious room, it's so luscious, and the sound the cello makes as a solo instrument, but he's used all of these double stops and triple stops, so the harmony is just so rich. You can't help loving those sounds.
And then as an Irish cellist, do you have a particular, in Ireland we would say the word grá, which means love. Do you have a particular grá for the jigs?
Of course. I mean, it's funny because when people speak about these, I often hear that the jig is based around the English jig, but I think they're very similar to the Irish jig, absolutely. And I'm sure I have a little flavour of the traditional Irish feel when I play this, which is interesting because there's no published recording from an Irish cellist. So I'm really happy to be able to bring that flavour to this music.
So if somebody is coming to the Bach suites for the first time, how would you suggest that they listen to them?
I think obviously the Prelude is something that everybody knows. So if you like the Prelude, maybe a great way to get used to all of this music would be to listen to the Prelude from every suite. And then maybe if you discover you like the Courants, that you might listen to every Courant from the suite. I think it's a lovely way to introduce yourself rather than dipping into the full 2.5 hours in a row, which would be quite intense as a first listen.
And in some way that helps you get to know these dances that aren't as familiar to us anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. What did you find easier than you expected in this project? And maybe also, what did you find more difficult than you anticipated?
Well, it's actually such a joy to be practicing Bach. So I actually loved the whole experience of the 3 months. It's so glorious to be listening to this music every day. So that was an unexpected, obviously I knew I enjoyed the music, but a really pleasant part of the recording process. I think recording it in the TU Dublin Concert Hall, the sound is so rich that you can really sit back and enjoy all of those sonorities. So that was lovely to find out on the day of recording as well. As far as something that was tricky, I think when I planned 6 days in a row of recordings, that was more physical than I imagined. A lot of these pieces are incredibly physical for the left hand particularly. So you would often play many more notes in a Bach suite than you would in a number of other repertoire pieces. So when you think of that, you're on your own all day long, and then 6 days of that intensity. That was an interesting challenge. Maybe for my next recording of it in about 40 years, we'll rethink that.
There's something quite different about the 5th suite in terms of the original instrument and the tuning. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
So Bach has written scordatura, which literally means to detune. And that means that we tune down the A string from an A down to a G. So what this does is it releases a little of the tension on the cello and gives a much more resonant sound than the cello usually has. It's fascinating, really, and creates all of these really bassy sounds which you can sink into, as opposed to the Sixth Suite, which was actually written for a 5-string cello. So quite often people, when they record this, they actually record it on a 5-string cello, so that it's performed the way it's meant to be performed, which is all in a very easy register for resonance. I didn't do that, however, because I was trying to represent the way I perform these in concerts. I played it on the 4-string cello.
As with any project that a recording artist has, there are many goals. What are you most proud of having completed this?
I think recording 2.5 hours worth of music is a real achievement. Many cellists contacted me actually while I was planning to record these, and I think there's a real sense of community around it because people know that it's almost like climbing Mount Everest, in the fact that it's quite intense physically, mentally. So I think I'm really happy with the characters that I produced. I'm very happy with the fact that I have a dance style, hopefully, in every single movement. And I just really hope that I've done Bach proud.
I'm sure you have. So obviously, for a project of this nature, you have a production team. And what was your setup?
So obviously I had a wonderful producer, Orla McDonough, and that is very, very helpful on the day to have someone you can really trust. I had Ben Rawlins on sound, who is a wizard and a Grammy winner at that as well. And we're really excited about releasing this on the Steinway label on February 2nd, 2024.
As a composer yourself, you have also written a solo cello suite with 6 stanzas. Were they inspired by your appreciation of the Bach suites, or was there a different reason to compose that?
I was, of course, inspired by the Bach solo suites, and I do intend to write 6 of them eventually. But so to date, I have only 1 solo suite written, and it's a set of 6 dances, but in slightly more modern styles. So like a tango, a Charleston, there's a ballet, a set of Irish reels in there as well. So I just wanted to write something for the solo cello repertoire that would have a lot of variety and that would also have a nice finisher for a concert. Because sometimes we struggle as cellists to have repertoire that is very flashy because people obviously like that lyrical sense of the cello. So we'll see what the next 5 suites will bring.
Absolutely. Well, Ailbhe, thank you so much for joining me today to talk a little bit about this latest recording project, and we look forward to the ones to come.